Hello, everyone, and welcome. Tonight we're going to be playing some modern Magic the Gathering, and we are going to be playing some Tron here. Um, Today is a very important day in the current modern state. Today is the first day on Magic Online that Stoneforge Mystic is legal in modern. Hogak has been banned, Faithless Looting has been banned, and importantly enough, this Tron deck here has everything still intact. So one of the best things about Tron is you try to prey on the fair decks, stuff like Jund, stuff like Blue-White, decks that are playing Renin 6 and Stoneforge Mystic, decks that I plan on seeing a lot of here going forward in the future. So that is the reason we are playing Tron here tonight. And like I said, we have not lost a single card. We have the new London Mulligan rule, so Tron is at its strength right now, and we're going to see if we can take advantage of other people playing these fair decks. That being said, I made a couple of minor tweaks here to the Tron list. We are currently playing the package with 4 Karn the Great Creator. This is the version of Tron that I like better than the larger version. I think this is more consistent with the Karn package. I like it. If there's going to be more Affinity and Urza decks going forward, I am perfectly happy playing Karn. Um, After that, there used to be a couple of Relic of Progenitus in the main deck. I actually took those out. There is going to be far less graveyard decks, presumably. So I cut the Relic of Progenitus, and I'm playing 3 Worm Coils, an extra World Breaker because of the mirror matches, and we're playing 2 Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger, as well as 2 Walking Ballista. So those are pretty much your generic threats that we generally play here in Tron. We have the standard 3 Karn the Great Creator. We have 2 Ulamog, or I'm sorry, not 2 Ulamog. We have 2 Ugin the Spirit Dragon, 2 Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger, and that's pretty much going to be our package. We're going to pull up our sideboard here. Let's see what our wish board is currently looking like. We have 3 Nature's Claims, 3 Thrag Tusks, and the rest of these are going to be one-ofs. 1 Grafdigger's Cage, 1 Spyglass, 1 Crucible of Worlds, 1 Ensnaring Bridge, 1 Trinisphere, 1 Lattice, 1 Chalice of the Void, 1 Liquid Metal Coating, and a last Walking Ballista in our sideboard. So this is going to be the deck we're going to be playing. We're going to go hop in our league here, and we're going to see how it goes. All right. Looks like we were going to be on the draw here. We lost our first die roll. This first week of Modern is going to be very interesting to see how many people are going to venture out of their way to play decks that they don't normally play. Stoneforge Mystic is an incredibly powerful card to get unbanned in Modern. I personally would like to play the Blue-White Stoneblade deck or give it some testing. I currently do not own Force Invocation online, but so that's the one thing that's going to have to sit on the bench for right now until I manage to get a playset. Until then, we're going to be playing Tron. We're going to be playing some other variants. I have my Stoneforges as far as paper is concerned. That I don't need to worry. I can play those at my local event, or I might go play Star City IQ or something this weekend. So that could very well be our deck of choice this weekend. But for right now, we're going to have to manage with Tron because that is the deck we own online. We have a very good opening hand. We will keep this. We have 2 Tron pieces, an Ancient Stirrings to find our last one, or a Sylvan Scrying to find our last one. So we will have Tron here. So this is a keep. And it's nice we also have 1 payoff already in our hand in the Karn the Great Creator. Spire Bluff Canal. Hopefully this is not Storm. Storm could be a little troublesome. Storm is definitely not a good matchup for us. So we can take the line of leading on Power Plant Mine, try to rip the tower off the top, or we can start a little bit slower here and we can start on Stirrings. I think I'm going to take the turn just to play one of the Tron pieces. Let's see what our opponent's doing over there. Try to get a little more information. Our opponent just played an opt, so that didn't give us any information. Alright, so I'm just going to go mine. We're going to play the Chromatic Star. And I think I'm just going to pass the turn here. I don't really want to crack the star. I mean, if you crack the star, you can Stirrings looking for the tower, so that way you have the mana next turn. Or if you wait till next turn, you can also crack the star for green and scrying and still play the Karn. So I think what I'm going to do here is actually wait, and I'm going to use the star next turn. End of turn Manamorphose is very strange. I'm kind of assuming that this is Storm, but that's very strange sequencing out of our opponent. They're signaling pretty hard that they're holding up a remand. So that is one thing we do want to be cautious about here. All right, so let's cycle our star. Forest is not particularly a good draw. So we can place whatever we play is going to get remanded. So maybe it's better to play the Stirrings. If we play the Stirrings, then we can go Forest, replay Stirrings. Or we can just let them remand to Scrying and have it over with. But I think I'm just going to play the Stirrings, so that way we can recast it this turn. It's better if you hit the tower. Yeah, see, they just do that. That's fine. So now we can just go Forest, Scrying, get our tower, and now we have our mana unlocked for next turn. Looks like our opponent kept a pretty bad hand. It looks like they have no shortage of lands, so we can just slam this World Breaker. Or if we can go play Karn. If we go play Karn, we can get something like a Trinisphere out of the board. If they have another remand, we get to play the Karn again. So I think we're going to do that. Alright, so the Karn happens. Let's minus on Karn. So we have 4 mana. We can either get Chalice of the Void or Trinisphere. We can get Chalice and play it on 2. If you get Chalice on 2 is really the hard card for Storm to beat. Trinisphere is also very good against them. Both are going to be bad against remand, so I don't think that's going to really change anything. If they have a remand, they're going to counter no matter what we play. So I think I'm going to get the Chalice of the Void first. Yes, it shuts off our scrying, but our mana is currently online. We don't need it. Cycle an Islet, okay. And they scooped them up. All right, so they knew they were super soft to this. This shuts off all of their rituals, shuts off their Grape Shot, so that's the reason why you went Chalice on 2 in this matchup. That's a nice little steal there for us game 1. Like I said, especially we know we're a little soft to Storm just in general. Our deck is not designed very well against them. The Karn the Great Creator package helps the matchup for sure, but it's still not perfect. All right, so let's see. What do we have in our sideboard that we actually want here? Nature's Claim, probably not. There's a chance that they sideboard in something like Aria Flame, but we're not going to bring in Nature's Claim unless we see it. As far as these wish targets and stuff, I think we're just gonna. I don't like the board in the wish targets unless it's something that you desperately need. Um, we could side in something like one of them, hope to draw one, and leave one of them in our board for the Karn. That might be reasonable. Or you just leave them both in the board and hope you get our Karn online. Ulamog's pretty bad here. So is Ugin. There's a lot of mediocre cards in this matchup. Oblivion Stone's not great. I mean, it gives you an answer to empty the Warrens, so that's probably a reason to keep Oblivion Stone in. Ugin is also an answer, but it's way more expensive. I mean, we could also bring in Thragtusks, but Thragtusks aren't anything special. I'm going to bring in the Thragtusks just because it gives you something you can play earlier, and it's easier to play through like a Blood Moon if they have Blood Moons in their sideboard. Like I said, by all means, they're not great, but let's just do that. I think I'm going to leave the Trinisphere and the Crucible, or I'm sorry, the Trinisphere and the Chalice in the sideboard. It just makes our Karns better. Alright, so this is a fine hand. We have one Tron land, we have double Expedition Map. And we also have the Oblivion Stone, just in case they go on an Empty the Warren spree. Alright, now we don't have the Tron land here. We can, let's see, crack a map, get a Tron land. We can just play Expedition Map and say go. Both of which are relatively slow. I think what we're going to do here is just go land, play map, play sphere. We don't necessarily need 7 mana in one turn. Like I said, we're going to play the Karn here. Now we can search for a land. Doesn't really matter which one you get first. We'll get the mine, play the mine, and now we can also cycle our Chromatic Sphere, crack our Expedition Map next turn, and play our Karn next turn. Baral is a good one. Baral is a very important part of their puzzle. So I think what I'm going to do here is just cycle this sphere. Try to miracle a tower here. And would you look at that? That is an Urza's tower. That is quite the draw. So we have 8 mana. I think we're just gonna go Karn and do the same thing we did last time. Play Karn, tutor, and get one of our powerful artifacts out of the sideboard. Alright, so we also have an interesting decision here if there's a difference on which one we get. So one of the things to think about in your sideboard now is what your opponent's playing to destroy the artifacts. I know Storm plays stuff like a Braid, they play Shattering Spree, they play Shatter Storm. I think a Braid is probably one of the more likely cards. So I think I'm going to actually get the Chalice here. If they have an answer for it, we just get the Trinisphere next turn. Alright, so they attack Karn and go to discard. That's good news for us. Alright, so we're just ripping bullets here. We're going to go power plant, sacrifice our expedition map. Let's go get another tower. Play our tower. So we have 3, 6, 7, 8, 9 mana. So now we can go World Breaker, blow up one of their lands. I think World Breaker blow up a land is probably better, especially considering they were missing their land drops. Now, we're just going to hit the island. Otherwise, they can just sacrifice the islet and draw a card. Wipe away is good. Alright, so let's plus Karn with no targets. Okay, so now we can also play Chalice for 1, or we can just pass and replay it next turn. And I think that's what we're going to do. Chalice for 1 only shuts off some of their cantrips and their setup cards. They haven't played them the last couple turns here, so they probably don't have any. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to keep this Chalice and hope we can stick it next turn on 2. All right, so our opponent had a bunch of rituals. They're going to pass in flames here. It's going to be pretty unfortunate if we die this turn. They just had a bunch. They have a lot of mana. Okay, so they play Gifts Ungiven. Maybe we should have got the Trinisphere last turn just to really lock them out of the game, but that might have been a mistake on our part. All right, so they have 4 mana in their graveyard. I think we're just going to put the 2 rituals in the yard. Okay, so they get the Manamorphose, recast Past in Flames. Do all this again. They're generating mana. Now they're gonna... Okay, pieces of the puzzle. I thought they were gonna cast Gifts there, but we didn't know about that one. That was in their hand. Another pieces. Manamorphose. Another Manamorphose. Another pieces. They have lots of cards. And we are dead, unfortunately. So they Grape Shot, reman the Grape Shot, and recast it again. All right, so like I said, maybe that was just a little bit too greedy on our part there to go for the World Breaker instead of the Trinisphere. But we get another chance at it. We get to go to game 3 here. And let's try it again. All right, this time we are on the play. This hand is fine. We will keep. All right, so we get to go power plant map. That's pretty good. Let's just go get our tower now. Our opponent can do whatever they want. Alright, so presumably a remand. That's fine. Let's play our Karn. He will get remanded. Okay, now we play Oblivion Stone. Alright, so Stone gives us a little bit of protection here, and we get to recast Karn next turn. Manamorphose. And an Electromancer. Alright, so what does that mean for us? We have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 mana potentially this turn. Yeah, so it's 5 mana to sacrifice the Oblivion Stone. We can pay 5, blow up the Electromancer, play 4, get Karn. That does not seem ideal. I think I would rather try to get one of the hate pieces into play this turn. Like I said, the big upside to Chalice is they basically have to have an answer immediately. So I think that's just what we're going to do here. We are unfortunately 1 mana short of playing Lattice. So we could always get Lattice next turn. So maybe there is an argument to get Trinisphere here instead. No, we're just going to stick to our guns. We're going to get the Chalice. And we'll see what they can do. Okay, crack the Islet. That's a good start for us. Okay, so they're attacking Karn. All right, so I think we're gonna this turn we're gonna try to put a fate counter on the Chalice here with the Oblivion Stone. Because if we have to crack this Oblivion Stone, we need to make sure we keep this Chalice in place. So that's going to be one thing. So I guess we're going to start with cycling this Chromatic Sphere. Let's see what we draw. Expedition map is not great for us. I guess we play a Thragtusk. We play Thragtusk, we still have mana. We can Scrying. Scrying's just going to get us another tower. So if we Scrying for tower, we'll have lots of mana, but I want to get this Thragtusk in play. I want to start getting a clock on our opponent. So let's start there. Thragtusk. Mine. Play Expedition map. And I think that's going to be it. Oh, I'm terrible. I forgot to use my Karn that turn. That's a big whoops. Feel free to make fun of me for that one. We were thinking about other things and we forgot to use our Karn. Alright, so let's put a Fate counter here. Play star. Crack star. Play star. Let's try it again. Let's draw some cards, see if we can find something relevant. Power plant is not. We do not need any more mana. Alright, so how do we want to progress from here? So Karn we can plus on Oblivion Stone. We can attack for 3. Or we can keep it back as a blocker. Maybe we just keep the Oblivion Stone as a 3/3 as a blocker right now. If they want to lightning bolt it, they can lightning bolt it. We just don't care. I'm just gonna get the Sanctum here. Alright, let's start going to town. Our opponent just had enough there. Okay, fair enough. Alright, so anyway, like I said, what we were planning on doing there, we were just going to Oblivion Stone, put a Fate counter on our Karn, just we get to attack away with the Thragtusk here, but that Chalice on for 2 is going to be incredibly hard for our opponent to beat if they don't have an answer. I mean, presumably their hand was probably just a pile of rituals and whatever else. But they need to find an answer rather quickly to that card. Alright, this hand is a tad on the slow side, but I think we're going to keep this anyway. We have 1 Tron land, we have map and scrying. Oh, we're playing a mirror match, huh? This hand is not great in the mirror. One thing that can be important in the mirror is if you have to expedition map for a ghost quarter. Which we are on the draw here. We're going to be super toast because our opponent has Tron on 3. Their hand is definitely better than ours, so we will see if they have the Karn to follow it up. Alright, so I'm just going to cast Scrying. Yeah, if they play Karn on 3, the game's just over. Yeah. You definitely can't win the mirror getting stone rained every turn. So we're not even going to bother trying to fight through that. Alright, so we're going to bring in Nature's Claims. You definitely need Nature's Claims because if they're playing the Karn the Great Creator package, you need to make sure you don't get lattice locked out of the game. So that's one of the most important things about the mirror. This mirror is pretty ridiculous. Like I said, Karn on 3 just ends the game. There's really no coming back from it. Alright, so what do we not want here? Ugin's pretty bad. So I guess we're gonna cut 2 Ugins and one of the fatties. It's gonna be like Wormcoil Engine or Walking Ballista because those are not great in the matchup. Probably Walking Ballista. You need to make sure you have the first. You definitely want to make sure you have the first Karn on board. Like that's the #1 thing about the mirror. Sometimes you can get around with, like I said, tutoring up that one Ghost Quarter that you have in your deck, and you can keep your opponent off a Tron for the turn, and that turn can win you the game. This hand, we have turn 3 Tron, so we're going to keep this. We do not have Karn Liberated in our hand, but hopefully we can draw it here. We have a turn 3 Great Creator. Great Creator is not great in this matchup. He's fine. He shuts off some pretty much irrelevant artifacts, but he's definitely not meant for the mirror. Alright, looks like our opponent took a mulligan to 6. Alright, so they lead on the star. Let's get our tower, and we'll see what we can do with it. They have the Ghost Quarter. Sure. Alright, so I guess we're just going to play the Chromatic Star here then. Now, do we want to cycle it now or do we want to wait? I guess if we draw... I mean, we can draw Sylvan Scrying. So let's do that. Wormcoil does not do it. A 1/1 Walking Ballista is not really ideal. Yeah, I'm just going to hold on to the Ballista. I'm not even going to play it as a 1/1. Alright. We're going to cross our fingers, hope we can miracle a power plant here off the top. And Ancient Stirrings would be pretty good too. Our opponent's hand is way better than ours. They had the Ghost Quarter and they have Tron assembled. Alright, so I'm going to tutor with Karn this turn. Let's get this Crucible of Worlds. So next turn, if we don't die here, we can play Crucible, get back our power plant, and start doing something. Unless they have the Karn here. If they have the Karn, well, they have their own Great Creator. Fair enough. Now, let's see, do they have the Crucible? They can get Crucible and play Ghost Quarter here. That's pretty good. Oh, they're going to Liquid Metal Coating us. That is also very good. Alright. Well, I guess it's not quite so good. I forgot they can't activate the abilities. So Coating actually doesn't do anything here. Oh, that's rude. Surgical extraction? Man. Alright, well, there's nothing we can do about that. I guess you got us. So one thing that does put us in a very awkward position now, we cannot tutor for a lattice anymore. Because at this point, if we tutor for a lattice, we're going to deck before our opponent. So that is one thing that we can't do anymore. Oh, nice. Our opponent did not take the power plant out of our graveyard. That was definitely a mistake on their part. They only took the ones out of our deck. So now we get to play Crucible and play our power plant. How would we like to tap for this? We can tap Mine Sanctum Forest, get back power plant, have 5 mana. 5 mana counter. We can make a walking ballista. I think that's probably the best we can do. Make a walking ballista, shoot the Karn. That way, if they tutor with Karn, they're gonna sacrifice their own. I think that's probably a fair line here. We can also Sylvan Scrying for our Ghost Quarter. If we Sylvan Scrying for Ghost Quarter, we get to take them off of Tron. That might be better this turn. I think that's what I'm going to do. There's really nothing for us to tutor for with Karn this turn. Oh no, I lie. The Sorceress Spyglass. But that also shuts off our own Karn, which is really kind of annoying. Alright, so I'm going to play Walking Ballista for 1. Alright, so now we can Ghost Quarter our opponent. They Sylvan Scrying for the tower, so we'll Ghost Quarter the tower. Presumably that was the piece they were missing. Now here, if they do something like... Oh, they're going to plus? Okay. That's fair. Plus, attack Karn. I will block. Stirring's okay. Another great creator. Oh, okay. Well, they just conceded. So I'm not quite sure why they were conceding there, but I will take it. All right. So game three, we're going to be on the draw here. Yeah, I don't think there's anything we really want to change. We just want to cast our turn three card before they do. Either that or have that Ghost Quarter in our opening hand. All right, so this hand is Power Plant, Star. Turn two, Scrying. We can scry into a Ghost Quarter. We have Nature's Claim for an artifact. I don't. This hand's a very borderline. This is definitely not a good hand. Not a good hand by any means. We only have one Tron piece. The two forests are kind of very mediocre. I think I'm going to throw this one back. This one I'm going to keep. We have two Tron lands. And we have two redraws. So Oblivion Stone is not very good. I'm going to either put back the Oblivion Stone or the Nature's Claim. I think probably the Stone. This way, if they go turn one map, we can just snap off a Nature's Claim on it. We're not going to do that to the Star. All right, our opponent cycles for green here. All right, at least they don't have a scrying. Oh, they have the expedition map. Okay. All right, so that pretty much prices us into going Nature's Claim on the map and hope they don't have the tower. All right, so let's cycle for green. Stirrings is pretty good. I don't know if that really changes what we want to do here. So you can Nature's Claim, play Tower, play Chromatic Sphere. That gives you two of your Tron pieces in play. You can cast Stirrings here, looking for the third Tron land, and still play Forest, Nature's Claim. I think we're just going to Nature's Claim and then play Tower Star. We can always Stirrings next turn. We can cycle for green, Stirrings, or Sylvan Scrying and get our last land. We don't really care about Relic. Okay, so they don't have the Tron land. Alright, so we can't play Karn this turn, but we can play Karn next turn, assuming we get a next turn. Alright, we're going to start with a cycle here. Okay, so Sphere. Alright, let's play Stirrings. Or I'm sorry, Scrying. We get Power Plant. Play Sphere. And I think I'm just going to pass here and hold on to the stirrings. There is a chance that our opponent tries to Ghost Quarter us here, and if they go to Ghost Quarter one of our lands, we can Cycle Sphere and use the stirrings to look for our last Tron piece that we don't have, or they would presumably blow up. We're just hoping they don't find a tower here. If they don't find the tower, I think we're in okay shape. Okay, so they found Ghost Quarter. So this is the reason why we wanted to keep the stirrings last turn. All right, so they want to blow up tower. Okay, so we can use this mana to Chromatic Sphere. Karn is fine. Forest, okay. Nothing to do with the mana. Let's cast Stirrings first. Do we have any towers in here? Alright, there's no tower, but we do have an expedition map. Alright, so play expedition map. Now we can crack our expedition map. Okay, so they're still looking for lands. Another power plant. And nothing. Alright, I think we're in good shape here now. Unless they have a surgical extraction here. No surgical extraction, so now we get to play Karn. Blow up their mine. And it should be easy from here. Okay, so they get a Great Creator. That is something. Expedition map. Fair enough. I kind of want to just double stone rain them here and take out their mine again. We can't play Walking Ballista here because of their Great Creator. So that's one thing we can't do. We can play Oblivion Stone. If we play Oblivion Stone, we can crack it, blow up their Great Creator. That doesn't seem ideal. We can also play Worm Coil Engine. I really don't want to let them untap with a Great Creator again and let them do a second tutor. So maybe we just go minus Karn on the mine, take map, blow up map, and then we get next turn, the following turn, we can play our choice of Worm Coil Engine, Walking Ballista. I think we're just trying to keep them off of mana here. Oh, I'm terrible. Why did I do that? This is why I don't normally play Tron, folks. I'm sitting here saying we're gonna crack our Oblivion Stone to kill their Karn, and we can't do that. Well, fortunately, we're lucky. What do they say? Better lucky than good? I think that's the term that they use. So now we can Karn, minus on their Karn. We can play our 4-mana Karn here, shut off their Expedition map. That actually might be better. We can shut off their Expedition map for this turn so they can't use it anymore. Let's plus on our Oblivion Stone. Oblivion Stone gets to attack Karn. Play Expedition map. I'm kind of considering holding this Expedition map here. Our opponent just scooped him up. He knows he's not coming back from there. But all right, well, fortunately, our deck pulled us out of that one there. I mean, feel free, like I said, feel free. I'm a relatively new Tron player. I play a lot of Modern, but not a lot of Tron just in general. So I am bound to make some sequencing mistakes. So definitely laugh at me for that one. Feel free. I am perfectly okay with taking criticism. But our deck bailed us out there. We are currently 2-0, and we are going to go to the next round here. We took a win against Storm in the first round. We got the win against the mirror match in the second round. And let's see what our round 3 opponent's going to be. This hand has 2 Tron pieces and an Ulamog, basically. I think I'm going to put this one back. This is definitely a very high risk hand. You have 1 redraw. And even if you hit your tower, you're not doing anything. So I'm going to put this one back. This one I'll keep. It's a little suspect. But you do have 2 Expedition maps. So you're a little slow, but you will have Tron with this hand in a couple of turns. Oblivion Stone and Wormcoil Engine are just all around good cards. Oblivion Stone lets you clean up the board if you start to fall behind, and so does Wormcoil. So as long as you're not playing against like a fast combo deck, you should be okay with this hand. That could be bad for us. Arid Mesa usually means burn. Shriekhorn. So our opponent is a brave person and is attempting to still play Dredge, even though Faithless Looting was banned. So they hit 2 Bloodghast. Lucky guys, they hit the Golgari Thug. All right. Well, they got us with the Shriekhorn there. My brother is somebody that plays a lot of Dredge himself, and we were discussing what happens with Dredge post Faithless Looting ban, how viable the deck still is if you can play something like Shriekhorn and Stitcher Supplier as your turn 1 enablers. So we've already had that discussion. It's definitely worse than Faithless Looting because now if he has Dredgers, they get stuck in his hand and he can't do anything about it. And you're also relying on the random effect of Shriekhorn, so you really have to have a card in the top 4 cards of your deck. But sometimes it gets there. They hit it on their random this time. So we have Power Plant. I mean, I guess we just play the expedition map here. I mean, you can wait till end of turn, search with expedition map. You're gonna untap and still have the same amount of mana, so it doesn't really matter which way you do it here. Fortunately for us, this Worm Coil Engine is a house against Dredge. Especially if they're on this kind of draw where they're just trying to doink you with a bunch of little blood gas. Worm Coil Engine can be pretty brutal. We'll see what they can muster together here. Our opponent's also playing Tome Scour. That is interesting. Maybe they're not playing Supplier. Maybe they're playing Tome Scour instead. I mean, if you look at their graveyard's just filled basically a bunch of nothing. They have one Golgari Thug and one Bloodghast. Oh, well, Tower's pretty good. Alright, so we'll search with map. Get a mine, play a mine, and pass a turn. I would not object to drawing an Ugin. Ugin is a real house against Dredge. Alright, so they hit a Creeping Chill and a Conflagrate. Casting Loam, okay. This Worm Coil Engine might be too slow. So they're going to hit us for 5 here. 5, we go to 7. Next turn, they cast Loam, get back some lands, and conflagrate us. So we actually are going to be dead here. Dredge managed to get us game 1. Yeah, because it's 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, and they have the conflags in the yard. So, all right, that's good enough. All right, so we're going to go to game 2. All right, let's see. Cards that are not great in this matchup. World Breaker is pretty mediocre. Ulamogs are also pretty mediocre. Karns are not great. All right, so you want stuff that can basically reset the board if you need it. So the Oblivion Stones are fine. The Ugins are A plus. Worm Coil Engine is great. Karn the Great Creator is great because we can get stuff like the Grafdigger's Cage and the Ensnaring Bridge out of our board. So we're going to want all the Karns. Worm Coils are good. Walking Ballistas are fine. They can ping away a bunch of their little X1 creatures and save you a lot of damage. So I think we're going to keep the Walking Ballistas. 7 mana Karn is not great in this matchup. So I think what we're going to do is we might actually trim some of those. It's either we cut maybe like 2 Karns or 2 Ulamogs, but the Ulamogs can be pretty relevant too. You get in like 1 attack with an Ulamog and half of their deck is gone. So I think that might actually be better than the Karn. Karn getting to exile a permanent against Dredge is pretty irrelevant for the most part. All right, I think that looks pretty good, so let's go to game 2. This hand is not very good. I mean, you have Forest and you have Double Stirrings to try and find your lands, but your payoffs here are not even good. Like I said, your Karn's not great. Thragtusk is only mediocre. Ulamog is not great. I think I'm going to throw this one back. This is very similar to the last hand, but now we're down a card. Yeah, like this is basically the same thing as the last hand. Alright, I'll keep this one. I think I'm going to put back the Thragtusk here. We have the Oblivion Stone. Alright, so these stirrings are hoping to find us some more Tron lands. Karn the Great Creator is pretty good too, but I think we have to take the tower here. Nothing. Alright. Play a stirrings. Alright, well there's our power plant. Alright, so mana is officially online. And we have 2 redraws with these Chromatic Stars to try and find some action. Okay, so Reunion ditching an Imp. Oh, they hit all kinds of action off of that. Creeping Chill, they got a couple Life from the Loams. Karn is not bad. Let's play Oblivion Stone. And pass a turn. So next turn we get to play Karn. Another Reunion. They get to dredge a million cards. So they get 1 Narcomoeba. And looks like 3 Amalgams. And 1 Bloodcast. Okay. Alright, so I guess the plan here is probably going to be to crack the Oblivion Stone. I guess the one exception to that would be... So we can go Mine. Mine, that gives us 4 mana here. We can play 3 cards out of our hand. We have to go Chromatic Star, Mine, Karn the Great Creator. We can get an Ensnaring Bridge, but Ensnaring Bridge still lets them attack with Narcomoeba and Bloodghast, so I think we're going to have to wait a turn for that. Yeah, I guess the plan here is probably just going to be to crack this Oblivion Stone. They have 1 Conflagrate in the yard. I mean, we could just Karn and get Bridge. That's not bad. Oh, I missed this. There's a Shenanigans in the yard. Okay, never mind. All right, so we're definitely playing Oblivion Stone here then. I did not see that Shenanigans down there. You have an Narcomoeba. Okay, let's draw with a star. Let's find an Ugin. Let's find an Ugin, please. That is not an Ugin. Alright, so blow up the stone. It's basically just a fog for us, because they're going to presumably play a land to get back the amalgams and the blood gas. Yep. Alright, so they're going to the end step. Sanctum of Ugin. Alright, so they put the shenanigans back in their hand. So this ensnaring bridge is not going to do us any good now. I think we're in a little bit of trouble. We can Karn and get something like a Walking Ballista. Karn Walking Ballista is, I think, the best we can do here. We can Expedition Map. Yeah, because our opponent just has lethal next turn. They've got 3, 6, 9, 10, 11 damage and the Conflag. Yeah, I think we're just toast. Yeah, we'll see what happens, but this is unlikely to be good enough. We might get them to attack Karn here. That could be something. Nature's Claim. Yeah, we're gonna scoop them up here. They know we're dead. They just Nature's Claim, untap, and kill us. All right, so that one's a little bit of a rough beating. Like I said, Dredge is typically a pretty good matchup for Tron, but did not work out that time. So, all right, well, we are currently 2-1. Win against Storm, win in the mirror, and a loss to Dredge. This time we are on the play. This hand is fine. I think we're going to keep this hand. We have one piece. We have an Expedition Map and Chromatic Stars, so we have a couple of cycle effects here. So let's go mine Expedition Map. This way, if we can rip a Tron piece off the top, we have turn 3 Karn. Street Wraith. Is this Death Shadow? That's what it looks like. Death Shadow is usually pretty good against Tron. They might take the Karn here. Yep, that's our best payoff card. Cycle a Star. And either Stirrings or Star. Let's play the Stirrings. Yeah, because this way now we get the power plant. So now we have Tron in 2 turns. So we can play power plant and map for the tower. Thought Scour themselves. And they do not have another land. Alright, so let's cycle Expedition map. Get tower, play star. Now next turn we also get to play World Breaker, so they need to draw a land here. Otherwise we just World Breaker their 1 land. I don't know, this feels like they don't have it, but they did draw a Thoughtseize. We have a lot of good live draws in our deck. Okay, they found the land. Gurmag, Angler. Alright. Let's draw. What do we want to draw here? A Karn is good. An Ulamog is good. Or not an Ulamog, an Ugin. We don't have enough mana for Ulamog yet. Another Tron piece is not particularly helpful. Alright, so let's start with the cycle. Wrong Karn. But then again, we can Karn tutor for a bridge. That's pretty good. Unless there's anything else we want. I'm assuming we just get bridge here. Let's see if they have anything like Kolaghan's Command in their main deck. These decks back in the way beginning used to play Kolaghan's Command, so we'll see if they do. Sometimes they played it main, sometimes they played it board. It'll be interesting to see if they have it or not. Well, they're fetching and shocking, so they have the 3 mana. Yeah, that's pretty good. Alright, so I guess... So they're going to destroy the bridge, make us discard, and then they're going to take Gurmag and attack the Karn, so we're not going to have anything. We're going to get draw for turn, redraw off of the Chromatic Star. That leaves us with 8 mana. The only thing that's going to really is going to shut us off of is if we draw an Ulamog, if we discard the mine. Or we can keep the sphere, that way we get 2 more draws at it. I think we discard mine here. Worm Coil counts as a pretty good draw. Alright, let's start with Cycling Star. Scrying. We can Scrying and get a Blast Zone. Scrying and Blast Zone gives us protection from Death Shadows, and now they also can't attack through our Wormcoil engine. I think that actually sounds pretty good here. Because you're still going to have 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so you have enough mana that you can Scrying and Wormcoil engine here. And we got all of our things into play. We used all of our mana this turn. Like I said, Wormcoil shuts down Gurmag Angler. Blast Zone shuts down any Death Shadows. And they're dead in one hit to this Wormcoil engine. For getting hit by that Culligan's command, that was actually a pretty good follow-up. Alright, that's good enough for our opponent. I guess they can't beat that Wormcoil engine. Alright, so it looks like we're probably just going to bring in our Thragtusks here again. Alright, what do we want to cut this time around? I think we're going to cut this World Breaker. World Breaker is not at its strongest in any kind of fast matchup like this. Ulamog is also kind of the same thing. These are really like your slower matchup type cards. If your opponent is playing like these fast Death Shadow decks, these are not going to be at their best. So I think we're going to be better off with the Thragtusks. You get to gain some life back. You get to trade with a Gurmag Angler, so I think that's pretty good. Walking Ballista is actually pretty good here. You get the if they try to get too low with their life total, sometimes you can punk them out of the game with the Walking Ballista. So let's see how this goes. This hand is definitely a mulligan. This is not a good one. This one, so you have Tower, you have Expedition Map, but you only have one land. This is pretty risky. I think I'm going to go to 5. I mean, you have 2 Wormcoil engines, which are great in the matchup, but this hand might just never get there on mana. So I'm going to go to 5. This one's reasonable. We'll keep this one. All right, so the Ghost Quarter can go away. And what's our other choice here? So we're gonna go mine Chromatic Star is gonna be our turn 1. Chromatic Star, cycle, stirrings, play forest. You also have to presume you're probably gonna get Thoughtseize out of this hand. This might be crazy, but we might want to bin this forest. Either that, or maybe it's the Karn. Karn's probably the worst. I think it might be way too greedy to try and put back this forest and try to hit some running lands. Yeah, let's put back the Karn. All right, our opponent has a really good turn 1. They have Bauble, Street Wraith. They're at 13. So they can play the turn 2 Death Shadow with this hand. All right, they take the Stirrings. That's all we got. Yeah, they're going ham here on their life total, so definitely looks like a Death Shadow is coming. Thoughtseize is quite good. Now they see the Walking Ballista. take the Walking Ballista. All right. Well, wasn't a bad draw. Let's see if we can survive. They are going to 1. Do they have a Team or Battle Rage to kill us? That seems pretty unnecessary from our opponent, because now if we just rip a Walking Ballista, they die. Fortunately for them, we don't get to punish them here. That was incredibly aggressive out of our opponent. Like that, there's no way they should have. They had. There's definitely should have taken a different line there. Because if we just draw a Walking Ballista, the game's over. All right, we're gonna be on to play this game. Let's not mulligan to 5. And we have turn 3 Tron, so we will keep. Mine expedition map, go. So just my personal taste in general, I wouldn't mind seeing Death Shadow become a deck again. It might be a little bit rough against like the Stoneforge, Snapcaster Mage, Sword, the Path to Exile decks, but I really enjoyed playing Death Shadow in the past. All right, Inquisition's way better for us than what Thoughtseize would be. Okay, so they took the Stirrings. Get our power plant, and you may go. Shock and go. They could have something like Disdainful Stroke as like a counterspell out of the sideboard. Um, in the main deck, these Death Shadow lists usually only played Stubborn Denial, but a lot of them played stuff like Disdainful Stroke in the sideboard. So if we play Karn here, it could just get countered, which, if that's the case, it's not the end of the world, because that would allow us next turn. Next turn, we can play Expedition Map, crack it, and play a Thragtusk. So that wouldn't be terrible. Even if they do counter it, it's not the end. We have some options here. Sure. All right, so they do have the counterspell. Let's play Expedition Map. I'm going to sack it right away, get a Forest probably. Yeah, let's get Forest. Forest, so that way we have our green mana unlocked. That's one thing we don't have to worry about. This next Expedition Map can get us the Blast Zone if we need it. Or we can also just play Thragtusk next turn. We'll see what our opponent does here. But it's not really surprising that our Karn got countered. Nothing. Nothing, huh? I mean, does that mean another Disdainful Stroke is coming? One you can kind of expect. The second one, I don't know how many they can play in their sideboard. Maybe two? Alright, so we can either scrying here and just get some lands. They're not going to Disdainful Stroke or counter like a scrying or an expedition map. So we could just wait a turn here and not play anything. Could also just play Thragtusk. I mean, playing Thragtusk I don't think is unreasonable. I think we're going to try to protect this last Karn. If they do have another Disdainful Stroke, I think I'd rather them counter the Thragtusk. Sure. Now we get the play map. I'm going to wait to crack this map. If they do something like play Fulminator Mage, and they want to blow up one of our lands, we just get whatever land they blow up with the Expedition map. Or if they play a Death Shadow, we could just go get the Blast Zone and be protected that way. So I think there's a lot of benefit to holding onto this map and not cracking it here. Okay, so they get the scrying. Okay, there's the Death Shadow. Okay, so we'll go get our Blast Zone. This is 2 to activate. 3. So we can activate the Blast Zone here. Maybe we just wait. We can get Karn. If we play Karn, we still have 5 mana. We don't have to worry about Stubborn Denial right now. They can't Stubborn Denial us unless they have like a Street Wraith in their hand that they're holding on to. So I think we're just going to play Karn and see what happens first. Alright, so Karn resolves. We're going to try to not get got by Culligan's command. So Karn resolving kind of makes me want to blow up this Blast Zone now instead. Because let's say you minus Karn. If you minus Karn and go get Bridge, they can just Culligan's command the Bridge and attack Karn, which is the same thing that happened last game. So, and then that'll just leave us with nothing. I think what we're going to do here is just plus on nothing and pass. And plan on blowing up this Blast Zone. Yeah, you know, I'm just going to do the Blast Zone now. We're doing it on their turn anyway. Who knows if they're playing some weird nimble obstructionist to counter an activated ability or something ridiculous like that. So I would rather not get that countered by some unlikely means. All right, so Now what happens is now they're going to be in this weird holding pattern. So if they have Culligan's Command, we can minus Karn, get Lattice, and they can float the mana in response and blow it up. So we can't just go get Lattice here blindly. We're going to have to go and look for some of our other options before we go for the Lattice. So let's cycle here first. Let's see what we draw. Stirrings is pretty good. Ooh, Karn Liberated. And Walking Ballista. Those are good options. So we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We do have 7 mana this turn, but we would walk into a Stubborn Denial. We could take Walking Ballista. We could Walking Ballista for 3. I kind of just want to take the Karn here. We're just going to put them to the test. Let's see if they have the counterspell. All right, that's good news for us. They don't have a counterspell. Now we can take out their red source. Let's go to second main phase. Let's make them use the red mana if they want it. Okay, so they have Culligan's Command. 2 damage to Karn and buy back Death Shadow. That's fine. Now we can decide what we want to do with this other Karn. I think I'm going to minus for bridge this turn. Or we can actually minus for Lattice. No, I'm going to minus for bridge first. This way, they need to have the red source to destroy the bridge. Or they need a discard spell here to get it out of our hand. I mean, they could go discard spell into Death Shadow. All right, that's pretty good. So discard into that's a good follow-up for them. That could have been a reason not to tutor there. We could have just plus the Great Creator and not done anything. I guess we opened ourselves up to a discard spell there and we didn't need to. Alright, let's make our opponent take a card out of their hand. They gave us the Death Shadow, so we don't know about the last card. Now at this rate, I think we just tutor for the Walking Ballista and make a gigantic Walking Ballista. Alright, let's see what our opponent's got. So they have a land. And that's good enough. Alright. So we are currently 3-1 here. After a mismatch, we've had a couple punts here along the way, a couple of false steps, but we're still trucking along. Our deck's treating us well tonight, so we're going to take this 3-1 and roll with it and see if we can get this win here in the last round. So we have yet to play against the Stoneforge Mystic, so I would like to see one of those just to that's one of the reasons we're playing this league here, is to see what kind of Stoneforge decks are floating around, but we haven't seen one yet. So let's try to find one here in this last round. It looks like we are going to be on the draw again. We've been on the draw a lot this league, or at least it feels like we have been. This hand is fine. I'm going to keep this hand. You got 2 Tron pieces, a Blast Zone for some interaction, a redraw with a star, and double Karn. That's a very good draw. What is this, Bogles? Is this green-white Tron? I'm not quite sure what this is. I'm not quite sure what this thing means. Talisman of Unity. Could be green-white Tron. Oh, that is a Stoneforge. All right. All right, so we got our wish. We did find our Stoneforge matchup that we wanted. That is a pretty good draw as well. I mean, I kind of think our opponent didn't play a land there, so we could just go Karn minus on Stoneforge. That sticks the Batterskull in their hand. And then if they don't do anything relevant, the following turn we just go Great Creator, shut off their Talisman. I think that's fine. Oh, our opponent had enough there. They just don't care. All right, so turn 3 Karn is strong, so our opponent didn't want anything to do with it. All right, so it looks like we're playing against some type of green-white nonsense. Our main deck is set up pretty well for these types of matchups. Like I said, these kinds of matchups are the reasons that you play Tron. Ugin is a house, Karn is a house, Ballista, Ulamog. These cards are all tremendous against any type of fair deck. In all honesty, we might just not sideboard at all here the way it looks. I don't think we care enough to get Nature's Claim. I mean, we've seen Batterskull, we've seen Talisman, but those are cards that we just don't really care about. At least not unless we see more. I mean, if our opponent is somehow playing their own Karn the Great Creator, we might need to bring them in just so we have some lattice protection. But I'm not going to bring in Nature's Claims just for Batterskull. And the Thrag Tusks are kind of medium. I mean, you could maybe cut Worldbreaker for a Thrag Tusk, but I don't think it's really necessary. I think I'd rather just have the other fatties. We'll keep the Worldbreaker just in case we need to get in a spot where we need to hit an artifact or a land. So we're just going to run it back. All right, so this is Tron, 2 Tron pieces, and we're on the draw with a sphere. I'm going to keep this hand. This hand is fine. All right, so we get to go mine, play a sphere. Next turn, we get to cycle for green and cast Stirrings and try to find our other Tron piece that we're missing. Wrong Tron piece, but it does count for something. All right, so let's play Stirrings. All right, well, we don't need the tower. That's one thing we don't need. I don't think we want the Great Creator here. We could take Forest, but we also have Chromatic Star. So next turn we can just play Chromatic Star and cycle it for green anyway. I mean, we don't have any green spells in our hand, so we could also just take Ugin. Our opponent went Temple, Vista. So I'm kind of assuming a Thought-Knot Seer is coming here. So if our opponent Thought-Knot Seers us, they're going to likely take this Karn Liberated. If they're playing Eldrazi, the Ugin is not very good. So maybe we do take the Karn the Great Creator. I think that makes sense. They let on Temple, which makes you think that there's a good chance they have a Thought-Knot Seer here. So this is some type of like a green-white Death and Taxes style deck. Eldrazi and Taxes. What would you like to take, my friend? They do have some options. This hand does really get to explode if we draw the power plant. Well, they took an Oblivion Stone. That's interesting. So they're just on the plan of hope you don't draw the power plant. Ugin is not great, so we're going to play this Oblivion Stone. And we need to draw some lands here. Another Thought-Knot Seer. This one might take the Wormcoil Engine. Okay, so they take the Karn, so maybe they have a Path to Exile in their hand then. Because if we play Wormcoil, it's going to Stonewall both of these guys, which makes me think they probably just have the Path in their hand. Let's just draw some lands so we can blow up these Thought-Knot Seers. Ugh. It's not what we wanted. We have a Chump Blocker. That will buy us a little bit of time, hopefully, here. Gross. Alright. Well, we need to rip a power plant off the top. Power plant, here we come. Nope. Alright, we're going to go to game 3 here. Alright, so that being said, these Thragtusks come in. Ugins come out. Ugins are not good against the Eldrazi deck. And we'll cut the World Breaker. That looks pretty good to me. Alright, game 3, here we go. All right, we are going to be on the play here, absolutely. This hand we will keep. We have Tron pieces, we have a star, we have a stirrings to try to find our last piece. So we're banking on the stirrings to find our power plant. Blast Zone is not completely unreasonable. I mean, it's not great against the Eldrazi, but if they're playing any cheaper creatures, we could have a chance there. We have a couple draws trying to find this power plant. All right, mine, star, your turn. Noble Hierarch. All right, Cycle for Greed. Ballista is actually not terrible. So the original plan was to just go Stirrings, try to find the power plant. But now that we drew that Ballista, I'm pretty tempted to just go Ballista, shoot your Hierarch. And I think that's what we're going to do. A lot of times, if your opponent's doing something like that and you get to kill that turn 1 Hierarch, like you can set them back to the Stone Ages. Damping Sphere is good. Alright, so we're going to play Blast Zone. Eldrazi Displacer, okay? Let's put a charge counter on our Blast Zone. So we have two options here. We can either go Blast Zone, pass a turn, Blast Zone, try to blow up this Damping Sphere. Or we can just start cycling some of these stars. And because we're still looking for the other Tron piece. I think let's just plan on Blast Zoning here. Alright, so they get to Thought Knot us. Let's see what they take. It's probably going to be one of the 1-mana spells. That was their plan last game. They just were crossing their fingers and hoping we never got our mana to go. So that looks like that's what I would assume they're probably going to do here again. Either one of the stars or the stirrings. Probably the stirrings. Yep. All right. So the good news is our opponent only has one card left in their hand. Let's cycle. Karn. Cycle. And we did not draw any lands. Let's take our 7. Power plant, please. Okay, they're going to displace her. Thought not. Okay. All right, so we have 2 Oblivion Stones now. They're going to blink again. Now they take the other Oblivion Stone. Okay, so that definitely got harder. So I think we're going to cycle Sphere here. Let's draw a Scrying. Let's draw a Power Plant. All right, that's a Scrying. So Scrying is going to get us to 5 mana this turn. You can tap your mine, play Scrying, go get your land. Play Power Plant. Now we only have one option. We only can play Karn. All right, so we're gonna have 10 mana next turn, assuming nothing changes here. So if we minus Karn, whatever we get, they can Thought Not Seer it out of our hand. So I think what we're gonna do is we're just gonna plus Karn here. If we plus Karn, they can double Thought Knot us, presumably take Ulamog and something else that's relevant. That could also free us up to hit something for next turn. We can minus Karn, take the Ensnaring Bridge. Yeah, because Displacer is only creature, so they can't. It's not like they can't displace like a bridge or something funky like that. So I think we kind of just want to plus Karn here and not do anything. Because you're kind of thinking about the options about like what happens if next turn, let's say they take Ulamog and Karn or something like that. We can potentially tutor for bridge, get bridge, play bridge, and Thragtusk next turn. Yeah, so I think we plus on nothing. Especially because we're not playing anything this turn. Now we die to a Reality Smasher, but there's nothing we can do about that. They might attack the Karn here, depending on what their hand looks like. They're both coming at us. All right, so they're on the Displacer plan. I'm assuming Ulamog is the first card that they take. Because if we cast Ulamog and hit their 2 creatures, I don't think they can win this game. Yeah, so that's the first one that they take. Okay, so they're going to do it again. All right, we basically hit 2 bricks there. Well, Starrings really isn't a brick, but the Expedition map is. So they can take Karn Liberated here, maybe? Or they might take the Thragtusk. I think those are your 2 options. Okay, so they took the Thragtusk. All right, so what do we have? We have 7, 8, 9. We have 10 mana total. We can Karn Liberated and get an Ensnaring Bridge. So if you Karn Liberated and Ensnaring Bridge, you can play Karn minus on Thought-Knot Seer, exile another target creature, then return to the battlefield. Okay, so yeah, so we can't if they can't kill us. No, they can, because that'll leave us with 3 cards in hand. So that's not going to work. Yeah, because if you go Forest, Karn the Thought-Knot Seer, or you can Karn the Displacer and leave the Thought-Knot Seer in play. That way they won't be able to attack through the bridge. Do any of these other cards do anything? This really isn't a spot for Walking Ballista because it's going to be a 5/5 Walking Ballista. You can block both of their creatures, but I think I'd rather get one of these other cards into play. Yeah, I think we're going to Karn on the Displacer. Get Bridge, play Bridge. That way this guy can't attack this turn. We'll see. Hopefully they can't destroy the bridge here. All right, and looks like that was good enough to beat our opponent. So our opponent got the concession. We got the concession there. That was a nice little 4-1. Like I said, we got through some punts. We kind of made it through our way there. Made a couple of mistakes along the way, but we got a couple 5 chests, and we're gonna open those up, and we're gonna see what they look like. All right, so let's close this out. All right, so we got 5 chests. While we're all hanging out here, we're going to check them out. We're going to see what we won. Hopefully something good. Right now, all of the Modern Horizons cards, some of them are getting astronomically expensive. Renin 6, Force of Negation, those are the cards we're looking for. So let's open all. Yes, open all. What do we get? We got a Thoughtseize. I don't know what Thoughtseize is worth right now, but we got 55 play points, a Thoughtseize, and it looks like that's basically it. Those are pretty terrible chests. I really got to stop opening these, but they are fun. Nice to see. Sometimes you get something special, something cool. But anyway, if you're still hanging out here, I do want to say thank you very much, everyone. Have a good evening. We like to play a lot of Modern and Legacy on this channel, so if you are still here, thank you. Have a good night. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, and we'll see you next time. All right, thanks, guys. Bye.